Welcome to Macomb Paranormal Investigations and Research. I am your host, Don Alter. Today, we travel deep into Northern California to one of the most mysterious locations in the United States. A place surrounded by legends of underground civilizations, UFO sightings, spiritual vortices, time anomalies, strange beings dressed in white robes, ancient Native American legends, and even theories about alternate realities and the Mandela Effect. Towering above the forests of Northern California stands Mount Shasta, a massive snow-covered volcano rising more than 14,000 feet into the sky. Beautiful during the day, intimidating at night. And according to many people who have visited the mountain, it is deeply unsettling. For generations, stories have circulated about strange lights moving through the sky above Mount Shasta. Some believe UFOs hide within the unusual clouds that form around the peak. Others claim there are hidden tunnels beneath the mountain leading to an underground city known as Telos, home to survivors of the lost continent of Lemuria. And now, in recent years, Mount Shasta has become associated with another mystery, the Mandela Effect. Could Mount Shasta somehow be connected to altered consciousness, distorted memory, or even shifting realities? Or is this simply another example of folklore, mythology, and the human mind trying to explain the unknown? Tonight, we step into the shadows surrounding Mount Shasta. And the deeper we go, the stranger the story becomes. Mount Shasta is located in Siskiyou County in far northern California, roughly 60 miles south of the Oregon border. The mountain dominates the landscape for miles in every direction. It rises abruptly from the earth like something almost unnatural, standing alone against the sky. Geologists classify Mount Shasta as an active stratovolcano. It is part of the Cascade Volcanic Arc, the same chain that includes Mount Rainier, Mount Hood, and Mount St. Helens. The volcano has erupted multiple times throughout history, and scientists still consider it active today. Its violent volcanic history stretches back hundreds of thousands of years. Its size alone creates an overwhelming presence. Many visitors describe feeling something unusual the moment they see the mountain for the first time. Some describe peace. Others describe fear. And many describe a strange sense that the mountain is somehow watching them. Long before paranormal investigators, UFO researchers, or conspiracy theorists arrived, Native American tribes considered Mount Shasta sacred ground. Tribes including the Wintu, Modoc, Achumawi, Atsugewi, and Shasta peoples all carried spiritual traditions connected to the mountain. One of the oldest legends tells of a powerful spirit known as Skell, the spirit of the above world, descending from the heavens to live atop Mount Shasta. According to tribal legends, Skell battled another spirit known as Lau from nearby Mount Mazama. The two spirits hurled fire and molten rock at one another in a cosmic war that may have symbolized ancient volcanic eruptions witnessed by tribal ancestors centuries ago. To native peoples, the mountain was never simply a mountain. It was alive, sacred, powerful, a place deserving respect. Some tribes warned people not to climb too high on the mountain because they believed powerful spirits lived there. Others believed the mountain was connected to the spirit world itself. Even today, many Native Americans still consider Mount Shasta sacred land. But over time, outsiders brought entirely different legends to Mount Shasta, and those stories would transform the mountain into one of America's greatest paranormal hotspots. By the late 1800s, rumors began circulating about a lost civilization connected to Mount Shasta. The story centered around Lemuria. 19th century scientists originally proposed Lemuria as a hypothetical lost continent. But over time, occult writers and mystics transformed the idea into something entirely different, a spiritually advanced civilization similar to Atlantis. Then came the claims that survivors of Lemuria had escaped underground, and according to the legends, they escaped beneath Mount Shasta. In 1905, a man named Frederick Spencer Oliver published a book titled A Dweller on Two Planets. In the book, he described advanced beings living inside Mount Shasta within hidden tunnels and underground chambers. The legends exploded from there. According to believers, the hidden city beneath Mount Shasta became known as Telos, a vast underground metropolis inhabited by spiritually advanced beings known as Lemurians. Witnesses described these beings as exceptionally tall, pale-skinned, dressed in flowing white robes, calm and intelligent, possessing psychic abilities, and capable of appearing and disappearing without explanation. Some locals even claim to have seen mysterious robed figures shopping in nearby towns before vanishing without a trace. Others claim these beings communicated telepathically and possessed knowledge about consciousness, energy, and the true nature of reality itself. As strange as it sounds, stories of underground civilizations beneath Mount Shasta continue to circulate today. Eventually, UFO sightings became closely associated with Mount Shasta as well. Reports increased dramatically during the 1950s as UFO culture exploded across America. Witnesses described glowing discs, cigar-shaped craft, pulsating lights, and strange aerial objects maneuvering around the mountain. One explanation involves the unusual clouds frequently forming around Mount Shasta. These clouds are naturally occurring weather formations called lenticular clouds, but their appearance is striking. Perfectly smooth, disc-shaped, often resembling giant flying saucers suspended motionless in the sky. For paranormal believers, those clouds became something far more than weather. Some claimed alien spacecraft hid within them. Others believed UFOs entered and exited hidden openings inside the mountain itself. Stories emerged describing underground alien bases, secret tunnels, and interdimensional portals buried beneath the volcano. As bizarre as it sounds, Mount Shasta slowly became a magnet for nearly every paranormal theory imaginable. UFOs, Bigfoot, ancient civilizations, portals, ascended masters, energy vortexes, interdimensional beings, and eventually, reality shifts. Over time, Mount Shasta also became one of the largest centers of New Age spirituality in America. Spiritual seekers traveled there, believing the mountain contained unique energy, capable of healing consciousness and expanding awareness. Some called it Earth's root chakra. Others believed the mountain sat upon a massive, energetic vortex connected to planetary consciousness itself. Visitors began reporting intense dreams, visions, missing time experiences, feelings of an altered reality, unexplained emotional changes, and powerful sensations of déjà vu. And this is where the Mandela Effect enters the story. The Mandela Effect refers to a strange phenomenon in which large groups of people remember something differently from how it currently exists in reality. The term itself came from thousands of people who believed they remembered Nelson Mandela dying in prison during the 1980s. The problem was that Mandela did not die in prison. He was eventually released, became president of South Africa, and died many years later in 2013. Yet countless people insisted they remembered television coverage, news reports, and conversations surrounding his earlier death. Since then, many similar examples have appeared. People remember the children's books as Berenstain Bears instead of Berenstain Bears. Others remember Looney Tunes instead of Looney Tunes. Some people remember the Monopoly Man wearing a monocle even though he never officially had one. Movie quotes are remembered differently by millions of people. Even geography, historical events, logos, and famous brands have become part of Mandela Effect discussions. Now, from a scientific perspective, psychologists generally explain the Mandela Effect through false memory, suggestion, social reinforcement, and the way the human brain naturally fills in gaps with information it expects to see. Human memory is not a perfect recording device. Memories change over time. People influence each other. And once an incorrect memory spreads through media or conversation, others may unknowingly adopt it as their own. But paranormal theories surrounding the Mandela Effect are much stranger. Some people believe the Mandela Effect may be evidence of parallel universes overlapping. Others believe humanity may have somehow shifted timelines, leaving certain people with memories of a previous reality. Some connect the phenomenon to quantum mechanics, simulation theory, dimensional shifts, or even secret experiments involving consciousness itself. And somehow, Mount Shasta became directly tied to those theories. Why? Because many paranormal believers already viewed Mount Shasta as a place where dimensions overlap, a place where consciousness changes, a place where reality itself may behave differently. People visiting the mountain sometimes reported memory confusion, intense déjà vu, feelings that reality suddenly felt wrong, or sensations that time itself behaves strangely. Others claimed they experienced vivid dreams unlike anything they had before. Some described losing track of time on the mountain. A few even claimed they returned from hikes feeling emotionally different or mentally disconnected from normal reality. For conspiracy theorists and paranormal researchers, this created the perfect connection. If Mount Shasta is a dimensional portal, could it also be a location where timelines intersect? Could people experiencing Mandela effects somehow be remembering fragments from alternate realities? Could consciousness itself become altered around locations believed to contain unusual energy? There is absolutely no scientific evidence supporting these claims. But the theory continues, spreading across paranormal communities online. And once again, Mount Shasta remains at the center of the mystery. Now, from an investigative perspective, there may also be very real physical explanations for why people experience strange sensations around Mount Shasta. We have to remember that Mount Shasta is an active volcano. Volcanic regions are known to produce gases, magnetic fluctuations, and geological activity that can affect the human body and mind. Certain naturally occurring gases released by volcanic activity can cause dizziness, headaches, confusion, anxiety, and a sense of unease. In some environments, exposure to gases or lower oxygen levels can even contribute to hallucinations or altered states of awareness. Then there is electromagnetic activity. High electromagnetic fields, or EMF, have long been discussed within both paranormal research and scientific studies. Some researchers believe elevated EMF exposure can affect the temporal lobes of the brain, potentially contributing to feelings of paranoia, fear, nausea, disorientation, or even the sensation that someone else is present nearby. Strong magnetic anomalies, underground mineral deposits, and geological stress within volcanic regions could potentially contribute to unusual psychological effects in some individuals. There is also the isolation factor. Mount Shasta is massive, remote, and emotionally overwhelming. Darkness, silence, altitude, exhaustion, cold temperatures, and environmental stress can all affect perception and mental state. The human brain is extremely sensitive to environmental conditions. When you combine isolation, expectation, fear, unusual weather patterns, volcanic geology, and the mountain's long-standing paranormal reputation, you create the perfect environment for the mind to interpret ordinary experiences as extraordinary. And honestly, as investigators, we must always consider those possibilities first. But even after accounting for all of those natural explanations, there are still stories connected to Mount Shasta that remain difficult to explain. Some of the strangest stories connected to Mount Shasta involve missing persons and unexplained disappearances. Hikers have vanished in the forest surrounding the mountain. Others have reported hearing voices in empty wilderness areas. Some claim they encountered impossible lights deep within the woods late at night. There are even stories of people entering caves or tunnels and experiencing distorted perceptions of time before reappearing hours later with little memory of what occurred. Most of these stories remain unverified folklore, but together, they have helped create the terrifying mythology surrounding the mountain. One of the reasons Mount Shasta remains so compelling is that it combines something very real with something deeply mysterious. The mountain itself is undeniably powerful, immense, ancient, beautiful, and dangerous. Its isolation, unpredictable weather, unusual cloud formations, and overwhelming physical presence naturally create an atmosphere where mystery thrives. When humans stand before places like Mount Shasta, the mind begins searching for meaning, and sometimes that meaning becomes mythology. There are also theories connecting Mount Shasta to government conspiracies. Some conspiracy researchers claim secret underground facilities exist beneath the mountain. Others connect Mount Shasta to military experiments, hidden technology, or ancient alien activity. Stories circulate online, claiming classified operations monitor strange energy anomalies around the mountain. Again, there is no verified evidence supporting these claims. But like all great paranormal legends, the lack of evidence often fuels the mystery even more. Because in paranormal culture, unanswered questions rarely die. They evolve. What makes Mount Shasta especially fascinating from an investigative perspective is how many completely different paranormal beliefs have converged on one single location. Normally, paranormal legends stay somewhat isolated. A place may be known for ghosts, or UFOs, or cryptids, but Mount Shasta somehow became connected to all of them simultaneously. That alone makes it unique. The mountain acts almost like a giant psychological canvas where humanity projects its deepest fears, hopes, and questions. Questions like, are we alone? Is consciousness immortal? Are there hidden dimensions? Is reality stable? Could ancient civilizations still exist? Are there things living beneath our feet? Can memory itself be manipulated? And perhaps most disturbing of all, what if reality is not as fixed as we believe? From a scientific perspective, most researchers would explain Mount Shasta's paranormal reputation through a combination of folklore, cultural storytelling, expectation bias, altered emotional states, environmental psychology, and natural geological phenomena. The human brain naturally searches for patterns, and places already associated with mystery tend to amplify perception. People visiting Mount Shasta expecting a paranormal encounter may become hyper-aware of every unusual sound, cloud formation, coincidence, or emotional reaction. But even knowing that, the stories persist. Because something about Mount Shasta continues pulling people toward it. Even skeptics often admit the mountain feels unusual. And perhaps that is the real mystery. Not whether aliens live beneath the mountain. Not whether portals open within hidden caves. Not whether timelines shift around its slopes. But why have humans throughout history continued searching for places where the boundary between reality and the unknown feels thin? Or perhaps there is another possibility. Maybe some locations truly do hold energy from the past. Maybe intense emotional events, ancient beliefs, geological forces, or something we still do not understand can leave an imprint on a place. And maybe Mount Shasta is one of those places. Haunted not necessarily by ghosts in the traditional sense, but by centuries of mystery, belief, fear, and unanswered questions. Or maybe it really is haunted. Tonight, Mount Shasta remains one of the most mysterious and paranormal locations in America. Tourists still travel there in search of UFOs. Spiritual seekers still meditate on its slopes. Stories of Lemurians still circulate online. And discussions involving the Mandela Effect continue linking the mountain to theories of shifting realities and altered consciousness. Whether those stories are true, exaggerated, psychological, or genuinely paranormal, Mount Shasta has become something larger than a mountain. It has become a symbol of mystery, a symbol of hidden truths, and a reminder that humanity has always been drawn toward places where the unknown feels just beyond reach. Maybe the real power of Mount Shasta is not supernatural at all. Maybe its greatest mystery is the way it forces us to confront the possibility that there are still things in this world we do not fully understand. And perhaps that uncertainty is the very thing that keeps us searching the shadows. Until next time, always look into the shadows and happy hauntings.